Hey Chem Gang, today's video is to show you how you fill out an orbital energy diagram and how it represents the electron configurations for students. Something that you will find very useful before you watch this video is to make sure you've read through your orbital study sheet and maybe have that on hand as a reference because I'm going to be referring to many of the things on that sheet. And we'll start with the diagram itself. The diagram represents all of the orbitals that any atom would have, and it does so in the order of increasing energy. The lower something is, the lower its energy is. This one is also divided into blocks to help you understand the difference between s orbitals, p orbitals, d orbitals, and f orbitals. So on your orbital study sheet, it will tell you that those letters are something called the sublevel of the orbital, and they represent, in general, different shapes of orbitals, but also slightly different energies of those orbitals. The numbers that you see here, again, are the principal energy levels, sometimes called the shells or the principal quantum number for the orbitals. So just remember that every atom has like a whole set of orbitals, and those orbitals are all arranged in this same general order. The thing that is different for each atom is exactly how much energy each level has. Right? So we're basically saying that for any atom, the 3p orbitals are above the 3s energy but below the 4s energy. But the actual exact energies will be different for different atoms. And as we fill the electrons into the orbitals, the one guiding principle is the Aufbau principle, meaning electrons always go in the lowest energy orbital possible. And what we're going to do is just show how you would place the electrons for any element. And I think I'm going to place all these electrons if there's room. But the whole idea is you only place as many electrons as an element has. So if you have the element sulfur with 16 electrons, you would take the first 16 spots for the electrons and stop there. However, if you were going on to another element that had more electrons, you just continue adding electrons. In this way, the electron configuration for any given element looks like the electron configurations for the elements before it, but just with extra electrons added. So let's start off by placing one electron. So this would be the first electron for any element. If the element was hydrogen, that would be the only electron. And the lowest energy orbital available is the 1s. So you just put an electron there. Okay. The next electron, and this would be for helium, or the second electron for any other element besides hydrogen, must go in the same orbital. But you notice I selected one, with the spin an opposite spin. This one is pointing up and this one's pointing down. So these arrows represent different spins, which is the fourth quantum number. And according to the Pauli exclusion principle, if they're going to be in the same orbital, they must have opposite spins. And that's sometimes called paired electrons. If we're going to place a third electron, we need to go up to the next highest energy level, or I should say the next lowest. The next energy level up, and that's because you can't have 3 electrons in an orbital. That's also due to the Pauli exclusion principle, which says the electrons can't share the same 4 quantum numbers, and 2 electrons spinning in the same direction in the same orbital would have that. So that's why we're forced to always go to a new orbital once there are 2 filling an orbital. It really doesn't matter whether I pick the up arrow or down arrow, by the way, when I'm starting off a new orbital. I always just pick the up just out of consistency. Okay, so this would represent the element lithium, right? Because lithium has 3 electrons, but for any element with more than 3 electrons, that's where the first 3 would go. Okay, if you need a 4th electron, as you do in, oh my goodness, what's next? Beryllium, it would go right here. And again, this is the Pauli exclusion principle, that you have to pair up the electrons with opposite spins if they're both in the same orbital. Okay. For a 5th electron, for instance, for boron or any element beyond that, you would go up to the next lowest energy orbitals, which is the 2p. And I could have picked any of these, and I could have picked the spin in any direction. I always just start with an up arrow, and I start with a left-hand orbital, just for neatness and consistency in putting together the diagram. Right. Now comes a really important electron. So this would be where a sixth electron would go. Right? This would represent the element carbon, but any element beyond carbon would start with these six. This electron is going to be placed, oops, according to Hund's rule. And what Hun said is that if you have multiple orbitals in a subshell of the same energy, so there's three different 2p orbitals, they all have the same energy. If there is an empty one, you're always going to place the electron in an empty one. And not only that, but its spin must be in the same direction as the one that's already placed. And that's sometimes called parallel spins as opposed to paired spins. So Hund's rule says the sixth electron has to go here. And similarly, the seventh electron, for an element with 7 electrons like nitrogen or anything past nitrogen, would have to go here. So we filled up all of the empty orbitals with parallel spins first. Okay. Once you've done that, these are still the lowest energy orbitals possible, so you start pairing up the electrons. So an element like oxygen would have 8 electrons, okay, and it could be placed in any of these. Again, I just work left to right. And then if you need a 9th electron, you'd have to pair up the second orbital here. And if you had a 10th electron, so now we would be up to the element neon, okay, you would pair it up in the third. Okay, now we've filled up that subshell, and there's no more room because each of the 3 orbitals has 2 electrons. Okay? So we're just going to keep going like that. That's really all the rules there are. So I'll increase the pace a little bit. So an 11th electron, we go in the next lowest energy orbital, 3s. And then a 12th would be paired with it also in the 3s. Okay? When you start with the 13th electron, you're going to start filling up the 3p orbitals. And remember, with Hund's rule, if that's the 13th, the 14th has to be spinning in the same direction in the empty orbital, and then the 15th would go in the last empty orbital there. Okay, then you have to start pairing them up. So elements with 16 electrons might look like this, and then the 17th and the 18th. Okay, would fill out the 3p's there. And once we filled out the subshell, we go to the next lowest energy orbital, which would be the 4s. So I guess we're up to 19 electrons, and the 20th has to be paired with that. Now comes a really important moment, and you'll see the time when you look at the actual periodic table. Even though we started the 4th energy level here, we haven't completed the 3rd. And that's because the 4s, which has the lowest energy of the 4th energy level, you see here all the orbitals in the 4th energy level, is actually lower than the 3ds, which is the highest energy in the 3rd energy level. So these are the orbitals of the 3rd energy level. And this is something called orbital overlap. I'm going to show you on your diagram how sort of the splitting of energy levels and orbitals explains this idea. So I'm just going to pause for a second. All right, so here we are on the orbital study sheet, and this is a diagram that sort of shows the splitting of orbitals. So in general, the first energy level has lower energy than the second, which is lower than the third, etc. But these numbers here represent the average energies of all the different sublevels in an energy level. And the first energy level doesn't have multiple sublevels, so the 1s is the only thing there. But in the second energy level, there's 2 different subshells, the 2s's and the 2p's, and here they're shown as different orbitals similar to the other diagram. And you see the 2s's are lower than average and the 2p's are above average. Okay? When you get to the third energy level, you're splitting into 3 subshells. So again, in the blue here, these are the 3 different types of level 3 orbitals. Okay? And again, different subshells, S, P, and D, with S's having the lowest energy and D's having the highest. Okay? And then the 4th energy level is yellow here, but again, this is showing the splitting. And so while the average energy of the 3rd level is way below the average energy of the 4th, there's this overlap here between the lowest subshell in the 4th energy level and the highest subshell in the 3rd energy level. So it's something to be aware of when you're doing configurations, and that's something you can easily read using the periodic table when we learn that trick. Okay, so we're now up to our 21st electron, and what we just showed is that the 3ds are the next lowest energy level, or at least subshell to fill. So we're going to start filling the 3ds. So, whoops, there's the 21st electron. We'll go right there. And now we have to apply Hund's rule a bunch of times. We need to put 1 electron with the same spin, in this case up, in each of the empty orbitals. So that would be electron 23, 24, whoops, having trouble dragging here, and 25. Straighten that out a little bit. Once we reach 25 here, okay, now we have to start pairing them up. So electrons, and you see there's room for 5 more because there's 5 orbitals there. So something with 26 electrons, which would be iron, would look like this. Of course, anything with more than 26 would just keep adding them. So something with 27, like cobalt, would look like that. 28th electron could be paired up in the next orbital. Again, I always work from left to right. It really doesn't matter which orbital I put it in. That's the 29th electron, so that could represent copper. And zinc has 30 electrons, so if I stopped right here, I'd have the electron configuration from zinc. Right? But anything with more electrons than zinc, like gallium, which has 31, you have to continue. So the 31st electron goes to the next lowest energy level, which is now the 4p's. And again, Hund's rule says the 32nd would have to go here, and the 33rd would have to go here. Then I can start pairing them up. Okay. So that's 34 electrons, 35 electrons, and 36 electrons. And again, now I'm using the Pauli exclusion principle, saying I can't have more than 2 in any one orbital. All right. So now I'm up to 37. That would be an electron in the 5s. And then for the 38th, I would pair that up immediately. And now we've got one of those situations of overlap again. I've started on the 5th energy level, but I still haven't filled out the 4Ds. All right, so let's see, 4D, I'm just checking, that's the 39th electron. Start to lose count after a while. Okay, 40th would go here, 41st here, 42nd here, and the 43rd electron, this would represent a unique element, technetium, would go here. So again, I just applied Hund's rule a bunch of times by having them with parallel spins in the opposite orbitals. And then by the Pauli rule, I'd have to start pairing them up for electrons 44, 45, 46, 47, and 48. Okay, if I stopped here at 48, I would have the element cadmium, but of course I have to go on. So next up will be the 5p's. So 49th electron, that would be the element indium if I stopped there. Okay, if there's 50, it'd look like that. And again, Hund's rule is being applied again. And 51 would be that third one here. So that's antimony. And then by the Pauli rule, I'd start pairing them up. So that would be 52, 53, and 54. So if I stopped here, I'd have the element xenon. All right. And we'll keep going. We got a few more. We got one more important thing to do. So I'm going to go to the 6s next. So that's the 55th element. That could be cesium. And the 56th, which would be barium, would go right here. And now, again, I promised another really important moment. The next lowest energy level is the 4f's. And what you start seeing here is massive overlap between the orbitals. In other words, I just started the 6th energy level, but I haven't yet finished the 4th. And I'm just going to go back to that previous diagram quickly. So right here, you see that massive overlap I was talking about. The 6th energy level has a very high average energy up here. But because there's 6 different sublevels, the 6s's are way below average for that energy level. And the 4th energy level, even though it's way down here, the 4f's are way above average. So you end up with this massive overlap here. And I did promise you that when we look at the periodic table, we'll find an easy way to determine when those overlaps occur and what order these orbitals fill in. All right, so we're back to start filling out the 4f's, and I'm not going to be able to go very far here because, look, I start filling out the 4f's, okay, by putting an electron there. Whoops, couldn't drag that one. There we go. So that would be the 57th electron, and I have to start following Hund's rule, which means put them in empty orbitals, okay, with parallel spins in the same direction, and now I got a problem because I've used up all my up arrow electrons. In a real atom, I'd have to make more up arrow electrons, but given the electrons that I showed to you here, that's the end of the road for me. So I would just continue like this. Now you have the idea.